In today's show, Jerami Grant has played like an all-star. Let's appreciate the Blazers' big off-season acquisition and how special he's been. And talk about whether he's going to make that mid-season showcase. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making the show your first listen every day. Free on all platforms, 5 days a week, coming at you every single weekday, the only daily Trailblazers podcast. So make it a part of your daily routine and make it your first listen every single day. Today's show brought to you by Prize Picks. Right now, if you go to prizepicks.com or download the app and put in the promo code Locked On, you can get up to a $100 deposit match on your first deposit. That's Prize Picks, daily fantasy made easy. Fun show for you today. We are going to appreciate Jerami Grant. I teased this earlier in the week that we were going to talk about Jerami Grant, and I decided just to do a whole dang episode about him. Let's talk Jerami Grant. He's been really good, all-star level good. And I want to close the show talking about whether I think he'll make the all-star team or not. You were listening to Wednesday, December 7th show. I'm recording this before the games start on December 6th. We're a long way away. Voting closes at the end of January for the All-Star team. For even the coaches' votes or whatever close at the end of January. We're a long way away, but it's going to come quickly. It's simultaneously 7 weeks and 7 very short weeks away, 6 very short weeks away. But I want to talk about Jerami Grant just before we talk showcase stuff, just how darn special he's been. He's been great. Arguably the Blazers' best player this season. For my money, he's been the Blazers' best player this season because of availability. I think Dame is still their best player overall talent-wise, but Jerami Grant has played in 23 of the 24 games. He's hit game winners. He's had a career-high 44. He's just been spectacular. Overall, Grant is averaging a career-best 23 points per game, 4.1 boards, and a career-high matching 2.8 assists per game, shooting 47.5% from the floor, 46.1% from three. 46% from three. Goodness gracious. And 77% from the free throw line. He's averaging a career high, or matching his career high, 6.1 attempts per game from three, and shooting easily a career best 46% from three. He has been, by most measures, one of the best shooters in the league this season. Yeah, that Jerami Grant, whose previous career best was 38.9% in the 1920 season, on a lot less volume, on like 3.5 attempts per game. He's basically doubled his volume and he's just burning down the nets, like absolutely burning down the nets. If anything, Jerami Grant is leaving some points on the board. We'll talk about this in a moment, but like he's getting the free throw line a bunch, but he's been over 83% from the stripe each of the last 2 seasons, the last 2 years in Detroit. He's only shooting 77.8% from the free throw line. If anything, Jerami Grant's leaving a point on the board each night. He could be averaging 24, 4, and 3. He's been very, very, very special. Like I said, matching a career high in 3-point attempts, and he's on pace to shoot easily the most he's ever launched in his career thanks to that heavy minutes load. In 2020, 2021, his first season in Detroit, he was up there and he was the same number of attempts, just over 6 a game, but he wasn't playing close to 37 minutes a night. Hopefully he'll come down a little bit. It's probably too many to play for the whole year, 36 and some change minutes a night. But like just in sheer volume, Grant has never launched like this from deep, and he's got a lot of positive feedback. The ball keeps going in. He's on pace right now to play 79 games, and make 223 pointers. Assuming pretty good health, Jerami Grant is going to do something CJ McCollum never did in a Blazer uniform, and that's make 200 threes in a Blazers uniform. CJ hit 197 once and 194 in another season, but he never had a 200 make season from deep. There's only been 8 such seasons in Blazers history. This is like a modern stat because they didn't launch threes like this back in the day. This is like a new thing. Damian Lillard's done it 7 times. And Wesley Matthews did it once in the 2013-2014 season when Wesley Matthews hit 201. That 200 mark is pretty rare air. And Jerami Grant, someone not known as a bomber by any means, is on pace to be the 9th player in team history to hit 200 plus threes. As a small caveat here, so is Anthony Simons. But still, this is an appreciation of Jerami Grant. He's been fantastic. And I think a lot of when we think about Jerami Grant, we think like, it's really nice that the Blazers have someone who can go get his own shot in isolation, who can score. You can throw him the ball in the mid post and he can score. And sure, he has great touch. He's made some great fadeaways out of the post where it's like, man, he's been special. And in isolation, when they've needed him in a pinch, he's been good. But where Jerami Grant has actually killed teams this year is as a spot-up shooter, as the perfect complementary off-ball guy that the Damian Lillard, Anthony Simons powered offense has always needed. Yes, a dude who can spot up on the wing, can score on his own when need be, but if you just let him be in spot-up situations, an absolute killer. And Jerami Grant has been that. He leads the league in total points in spot-up shooting. I was doing a sort of a big deep dive yesterday on Blazers stats and Anthony Simons and Damian Lillard and stuff like that, and I noticed when I was doing that, I was like, oh, Jerami Grant's name is at the top of this list. We're going to have to talk about that. He's averaging 1.24 points per possession on spot-up situations. That's 81st percentile according to NBA.com. You know that no-dip catch when they swing it to him on the wing and he catches the ball above his shoulders, never dips it below his shoulders and just fires after that high catch? Yeah, he's freaking great at that. He's just been excellent. And that speaks to how special he's been, because what you wanted from Jerami Grant is some individual offense, right? Is the guy who can go get 44 when you need him against the Knicks, like when you really need him, who can go score 30 and hit a game winner against the Suns, like the guy who's been, okay, you're just going to be the guy we go to and like jab step, hit a jump shot. He's been really good at that. Jab step, drive, catch in the post, spin baseline, catch in the post, spin middle, catch it in the post, go right hand, like show you all his different moves. He's done all of those things, right? When they've needed him to be a go-to guy. And that's part of like his sort of chameleon ability has been really, really special. But the spot up stuff speaks to what a valuable player he can be if this team is whole. He's been so good, and Dame's missed half the games, right? They played 24 games. Dame's missed 12 of them. Jerami Grant's been so good of just being water, right? He fills whatever vessel they need him to fill. He's stepped into, I'm going to be the primary, no problem. But what speaks to how special I think Jerami Grant can be moving forward is how freaking good he's been in this role as a spot-up guy. And that is a complementary skill set, and Grant has been lethal in a complementary skill set. Shooting 6 threes a game, 46% from 3, and getting to the free throw line. He's elite at drawing fouls, according to Cleaning the Glass, the indispensable stats website from Ben Falk. He's been pretty darn good at drawing shooting fouls his whole career. He's in the 91st percentile among forwards in terms of drawing shooting fouls. That's fouls drawn while you're attempting a shot. This is his 6th time in 9 seasons, though, ranking in the 90th percentile in drawing shooting fouls. He's always been good at it. He's long, he's herky-jerky, he's good at seeking contact. Like you see it. Grant is really good at getting into guys' arms and going up through them. He's good at closing down space on a pull-up, seeing the defender come and making sure that he gets that contact. He's good at getting to the rim and getting into people's bodies and making them foul him. He's a really good athlete, and he uses his athleticism to get himself to the free throw line. Like I said, I think he's leaving points on the board at the free throw line. He could be better. Where he's taking a step from last season to this season, though, is he's drawing non-shooting fouls. He's in the 95th percentile in drawing non-shooting fouls. He's just going at folks and getting fouls. So not even when he's not shooting, just catching in the post, catching on the wing, drive. He's so scary because of that 46% number from 3, because he leads the league in spot-up shooting. You got to close out on him, and Grant has been really good at saying, if you're going to come and put your hands on me, if you're going to come and foul me, I'm going to draw a foul. I'm going to get us in the free throw. I'm going to get us in the bonus, get us to the free throw line in the future. I'm going to draw non-shooting fouls when we're in the bonus. The Blazers have been, really good this year at drawing fouls, and Jerami Grant's elite skill and plus his step forward in drawing non-shooting fouls has really, really been impressive. Grant has been great on offense. I want to go to the other side of the ball in the second segment and talk a little bit about the defense, because he's been good there too. Let's talk about Jerami Grant's defense a little bit in the second segment. But first, I want to tell you this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. It's daily fantasy made easy. You can check it out by going to prizepicks.com or downloading the app. Here's how it works. You pick between 2 and 6 players, and if they go over or under the projection line set by Prize Picks, you can win some money. If you get all 6 right, up to 25 times, 6 for 6. But you could win money going 4 out of 6, 5 out of 6, whatever it might be. You choose the wager, you choose the odds. And that's the best part. You're not competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections that Prize Picks sets. They got all the sports. I mostly play on the app, and I play NBA because that's what I know well. But you can get an NFL action, NHL action. You can play college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, soccer during the World Cup, esports if you're into it, NASCAR, tennis, you name it, you're going to find it on Prize Picks. You can make entries quickly. It takes like 60 seconds to make your decision for the day. I'm recording this on Tuesday. If you do it on Tuesdays, they give out free picks on a Taco Tuesday, so you can win a little bit of extra money, plus safe and fast withdrawals. So if you do win, you get your money quickly. So download the Prize Picks app right now, or go to prizepicks.com to sign up for daily fantasy sports. First-time users receive a 100% instant match on a deposit up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, Prize Picks gives you $100. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks giving you $50. So don't forget to enter the promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for an instant deposit match of up to $100. That's Prize Picks, daily fantasy made easy. All right. Let's talk a little bit more about Jerami Grant. He's been really special on offense. Most of his impact has come on the offensive side. That's why we've led with it. He's been great. Career high in points, matching his career high in assists, shooting the dang leather off the ball, elite. On the other side of the floor, he has not been as impactful recently, and we'll talk about his overall impact here in a moment. But during the Blazers' hot start, they started 10-4 this season. During that 10-4 stretch, when they win 10 of their first 14 games, Jerami Grant graded out as an elite defender. And much of the reason why he grades out as an elite defender is because he grades out as lead defender because the team was playing better defense. I'm not a big fan of like catch-all defensive metrics because it's so team dependent and scheme dependent, but there are some useful advanced stats measurements that I think give us a better sense of what Grant has done. And in those first 14 games, those catch-all defensive stats said this dude is great. And the Blazers as a team were in the top 5 in defense, or I believe they got as high as 5. They were 6th in defensive rating. Like, they were really good. According to B-Ball Impact, Jerami Grant grades out as an A- in matchup difficulty and an A- in defensive positional versatility. That means he's getting a bunch of tough matchups, and he's getting a bunch of different tough matchups. Mostly the Blazers have utilized him on point guards, using his length to bother the likes of De'Aaron Fox, Chris Paul's, Jamal Murray's. They have given him this, hey, we've got a tough point guard. Go stop that point of attack. He's been a point of attack wing defender for them, and he's been good at it guarding smaller players. I don't think he's great navigating screens. Like, I think in a perfect world, Jerami Grant is actually guarding like-sized players who don't navigate ball screens as much. I think he can be really good in an on-ball role against guys who don't slither and go through a million screens like that, and then he can play some help side defense where he also has a lot of utility and is very good in that role too. But if you look at B-Ball Impact measures, that defensive matchup difficulty and defensive impact, him and Josh Hart are right there 1-2 in terms of hardest matchups and most like versatile asks on who they guard. Those are the Blazers' 2 starting wings. They get the hard assignments. Jerami Grant has absolutely been getting that. The Blazers have slipped on defense since those first 14 games. They slipped from a top 10 unit to now one of the bottom 10 in the league. I think we thought going into this season, at least I thought, and some of you maybe agreed with me, at least I thought that this was going to be a below average defense, so I'm not surprised with where they are. I think Grant, you can see his impact on the defensive end, and As the team slips, this is why defensive metrics are about your teammates. As the team slips, Grant slips. But as Grant slips, the team slips as well, right? Like it's all connected. Both estimated plus minus, which is a metric from dunksandthrees.com, and 538's Raptor rating consider Grant a below average defender. Both of their metrics, just catch-all defensive metrics, say that Grant is a below average defender. And cleaning the glasses on-off stats actually indicate that the Blazers are a little better on defense when Grant is out of the game as opposed to in the game. His on-off numbers suggest the Blazers give up more points when he plays. On-off numbers are imperfect way to measure teams, measure players, individual players, because your teammates matter. One of the reasons that Nikola Jokic's on-off numbers are wild is because the Denver Nuggets bench stunk last year. It's the DeAndre Jordan trick. Put DeAndre Jordan in there, your center's going to look even better. Nikola Jokic deserving 2-time MVP, just pointing out the plus-minus sort of silliness. Even according to pbpstats.com, another wonderful advanced stats website, the Blazers shot quality, like opponent shot quality that measures like the quality of shots and that the opponents get, is identical when Jerami Grant is on the floor and to when he's off the floor, meaning that he probably doesn't have much impact on sort of overall shot quality. He has been or has regressed to after the first, over the last 10 games as a little bit of a below average defender. I think that, some of it, that's just real, right? Like I'm not poo-pooing the numbers, even if I don't love a defensive catch-all metrics. I think that matches my eyeballs. And if both my eyeballs and the numbers say the same thing, I think we got to trust them. But in any case, I think we've seen Grant be an upgrade to what the Blazers have previously had on defense, because in a way that Robert Covington was an elite help defender and a very bad on-ball defender, Jerami Grant is probably not nearly as good as a help defender as Covington was at his peak, his first year in Portland, but he's a much better point of attack defender. And where the Blazers need help is at that point of attack. And getting value at a position where getting an upgrade, even a slight upgrade at a role that you need, is really valuable. And Grant has been that. And I think there is a perfect world where Jerami Grant has a smaller ask on defense with the health and then reintroduction, or should I say introduction rather, of Gary Payton II into the lineup. He's going to get those all-star guard cometh to town assignments. Not the whole game. I think even when GP is fully healthy and ready to go, he's playing 22 minutes a night at 26 at the most. So you're still going to have Grant often, playing a big sizable chunk of minutes guarding those point of attack guys, guarding those lead initiators. But the ask overall for the 35 minutes that Jerami's going to play would be a little bit smaller. When the ask is a little bit smaller, he can probably be a little bit better. And in general, his usage rate in the games where Dame has been out on offense has been massive. It is very tiring to both carry the load as an on-ball scorer on offense and then go guard the best players on defense. I think some of the slippage in the Blazers defense is that you're just asking a lot of your best player when Dame's out and Jerami Grant. I think when Dame's back and healthy and he's playing every night, Grant's usage level drops a bunch. He remains an elite spot-up threat, and he can give you more on defense. I think there's reason to believe that Grant is not the all-defense type of player that he was in those first 15 games, and he's not a pretty consistently below average defender like he's been in the last 10 games, but he's somewhere in the middle. He's an above average good defensive player. I think there's enough tape, enough information on what Grant has been throughout his career to suggest that him being an above average defensive player is just real and maybe expected. He could be really good. I think he's been an upgrade there, and I think if the Blazers ever get whole and remain whole for an extended period of time, I think you're going to see Grant's impact go up even further. And the matchup difficulty might drop a little bit, but that defensive positional versatility, the ability to guard 1 through 4 pretty easily, and even in some lineups switch onto the right type of fives, even though they don't ask him to do that very much, but switch 1 through 4 without hesitation. Grant is valuable in that role. He can guard pretty much anybody who plays, one of the 2 forward spots and either of the guard spots. So that leads us to the final question that I teased at the beginning of the show. This dude sounds like an all-star, right? What does it look like if Jerami Grant makes the Western Conference All-Star team? What does that path look like? I've kind of charted it out. Join me in the third segment where I walk you through the challenges of making that All-Star team. Join me there. But first, Almost forgot my ad. First, I want to remind you that this episode is brought to you by BetOnline, the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your sports action, whatever that action might be. You want to bet on the Blazers' next game. They play the Denver Nuggets Thursday night, looking for 3 straight. You can find that there on BetOnline. You want to bet on all the other NBA action leading up to it. You've got a couple nights to do so, or at least one night by the time you're listening to this. You don't want to bet on the NBA. They got college football action. They got NFL action. They got every sport you're looking for. So don't wait. Go take advantage. Go to BetOnline. It's where the game starts. Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond, and you are still listening to Locked On Blazers. The question that I have seen, this was actually sent to me by a listener. Shout out to the homie Jeff G. But this was this show remains very popular with Jeffs. That's a long running joke here, but it is very popular with Jeffs. You have a Jeff in your life, recommend Locked On Blazers to him. But Jeff G isn't the only one who's been talking about Jerami Grant as an all-star. I believe Casey Holdall of Trailblazers.com wrote as much in a recent story that Grant is playing at an all-star level. And I've seen fans on fan forums like r/Rip City, shout out to y'all, and on Twitter, talk about Grant as an all-star. I think it is undeniable that on a team that is, a win away from being a top 5 team in the West, you're the guy who's been your best and most consistent player this season, averaging 23, 4, and 3, and shooting the way he's shooting, is in the all-star conversation. But boy, is it going to be hard to make the all-star team in the West. I think there are 8 stone cold, no doubt about it, locks. And like 11 of these are like go argue with your mama level locks. Like they're just going to make the team. So we don't need to worry about it. Then there are the 12th guy is going to make the team, but you could I do not encourage an argument about this because I think there's a case to be made that this dude just straight up is not an all-star this season. Absolute locks, just running down the NBA standings. Devin Booker is an absolute lock to make the all-star team. Nikola Jokic is an absolute lock to make the all-star team. Ja Morant is a lock to make the all-star team. Steph Curry is a lock to make the all-star team. Luka Doncic is a lock to make the all-star team. Anthony Davis is a lock to make the all-star team. And Zion Williamson is a lock to make the all-star team. That's 7 dudes. They're locked the heck in. Guess what? LeBron James is also going to make the all-star team. LeBron's going to get voted in by the fan vote. He was a really struggling shooting the ball early in the season. He's been much better since some early bricks. He's also missed a bunch of time. Like I think it's pretty reasonable to say like this has not been an all-star season for LeBron. He's been good the last 4 or 5 games, like really good again. He's a very good basketball player still in year 20. It's wild, but I think it's reasonable to think he won't make the all-star team just on merit alone. He's gonna make it on fan vote. We don't need to like there's no reason to worry about this like too much because it's just going to happen. That's 8 stone cold locks. Booker, Jokic, Morant, Curry, Doncic, Davis, Williamson, and LeBron James. That's 8 dudes. They're going to be on the team. That means everyone else in the Western Conference is competing for 4 spots. That's tough. I think De'Aaron Fox is like considering where the Kings are and how much they've improved and how much De'Aaron Fox has improved. He figured out how to make pull-up jump shots, something he could not do last year. You can't go under on Fox anymore. They're an elite offensive team. He's the engine of their elite offense. Fox is, unless the Kings crater over the next 6 weeks, Fox is an all-star. That's 9. Lauri Markkanen is in the conversation. Let's talk about him in a second. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's in the conversation. Actually, we don't need to talk about them. Let's just push them to the side. Lauri Markkanen, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the conversation. SGA might not make it because OKC's record, but his production is wild. He's been excellent. He's all-star quality for sure. Games in Utah. I don't know if that matters to the coaches who are going to vote on the reserves. Voting for starters is a combination of fan, media, and player vote. Reserves are named by the coaches across the league. So Markkanen is not going to get the fan vote. He is not going to start via he's not going to be an all-star starter. So it's like he is a He's a reserve. I think he's been all-star quality. I don't think it matters that the game is in Utah, but it might. Like I'd have to ask around to NBA assistant coaches and see if they think that type of thing usually gets guys a little hometown bump. But Markkanen is in the conversation. SGA production-wise is in the conversation. Then there's the two Blazers, Damian Lillard and Jerami Grant. Right now, I don't think Dame's played enough games to be an all-star, but if Dame does play enough games, he will get in ahead of Jerami Grant, I believe, because one, he's a little better than him, and two, like there's a fraternity in the NBA All-Star team. Like once you've made the All-Star team, you're part of the fraternity and you get a little nod to get back in easier. First-time All-Stars, it's much harder to make it. I think Dame would be ahead of Jerami, assuming that Dame plays the rest of the games until MLK Day or wherever the voting ends. Then Jerami Grant. You can make a case that Grant's been better than Markkanen. You can make a case he's better than SGA. You can make a case that he's been probably as good. I don't think so, but darn close to as good as De'Aaron Fox. Like they've both been very, very good and are all-star worthy. But those names right there, that's 5 names for 4 spots. Someone is going to get left out, and it seems very unlikely that the Blazers would get 2 all-stars unless they're like the second best team in the West. If they're third, they might have the same record as a lot of teams. Like that middle of the West is going to be super jumbled. So they would need a little bit of separation to get the nod for 2 off the bench. Then you got to think I don't think the Kings are going to get 2, but Domantas Sabonis has been really good. The Suns might get 2. Does Mikal Bridges sneak in? Does a second Warrior sneak in if Golden State, they are the Currys for sure. But if Golden State gets a little bit better, does the fraternity allow for Draymond Green to get back there because their defense is going to take a step forward and he'll be back being an impactful defender? He was bad at the beginning of the year. He's been much better recently as they've kind of turned it around. Although they lost to my boy Andrew Nembhard and the Pacers on Monday evening. Do the Pelicans, as good as they've been, does Brandon Ingram, much like Damian Lillard, missed a bunch of time, does he get healthy, kick ass for 6 weeks, and get himself into the All-Star game? I don't think so, but he's definitely going to be there. The way I've done this now, there's no Timberwolves. I don't think they'll get one. And no Clippers. The Clippers are right there in the middle of the Western Conference. Does a fan vote screw it up and get Kawhi Leonard in there? I don't think Kawhi and PG will have played enough to get there, but is there a weird situation where they do get in? I don't think so. I don't think you need to worry about the Wolves or the Clippers. I don't think you need to worry about Brandon Ingram. I don't think you really need to worry about a second Warrior, but I do think you need to worry a little bit about Mikal Bridges. That would mean it's 6 guys for... That would mean, 6 guys for the 4 remaining spots. It's hard. It's hard. I haven't even mentioned Anthony Simons in the conversation. I think it's darn near impossible, unless the Blazers are the best team in the West, for them to get a third All-Star. So let's stick with their 2 best players, Dame and Jerami Grant. It's going to be hard to get both of them. It would be weird to me if Jerami Grant got in and Damian Lillard didn't, unless Dame is like an availability thing, and then it's like clearly on merit alone, Grant will deserve it because the Blazers in the playoff hunt, Grant have been their best and most consistent player, and it will not be a conversation anymore. All of that is to say, Jerami Grant has been an all-star level talent, and deserves, if the showcase was a little bit bigger, if it was 13 guys and not 12, the active NBA roster on nights is 13, the active All-Star roster is 12, he would deserve to be there. If there's some injury replacements, if LeBron James doesn't play because he's old, sure, that is a way for Jerami Grant to get in there. If any of the other absolute stone cold locks are hurt or banged up or whatever it might be, there's a path to, if the roster gets naturally expanded by injury replacements, a path for him to get there. But just doing the math, doing the exercise alone, Grant certainly will be a name that is considered when the coaches go to vote for all-star reserves, and it's going to be tough for him. I can't call it. Quite frankly, I hope he does because he's been really good, and it would be a nice, well-earned for a guy like him deep into his career, a second-round pick, season number 9, all of those things. Like you always root for those guys to make if you only get one shot to make your one all-star team. But I think I understand it matters to fans, and I understand it matters to this. But me personally, I will be comfortable being like Jerami Grant kicked ass this season, and I'll remember it without him getting the All-Star nod. But I will root for him. I'll absolutely pull for him. Even if I think the math of the All-Star game makes it impossible for every good player in the West and every good player in the East to get in there. Grant's been great. He'll be deserving. He'll be If he makes the team, it's because he deserves it. He's been really good. It's just hard to get there. So this is a hold on to your joy moment, right? Like regardless of what happens to Jerami Grant when there's all-star voting that will be at that point completely out of your control. You're not going to fan vote him in there, but like it's completely out of your control. It's unless you know a bunch of NBA coaches, and then you should hit them up and see if you can get Grant in there. If you're listening, someone on the Blazers coaching staff, that's your job, right? Hold on to your joy, because Jerami Grant has been really special. So if there is a moment where you're like, he didn't make the All-Star team, I'm bummed for him. This is why you appreciate the little moments. It's why you appreciate how special he was in Madison Square Garden. It's why you appreciate how special he was that night in Phoenix. It's why you just celebrate how good he's been when he's been. You hold on to your joy in the moment. Life and joy is fleeting, so appreciate how good Jerami Grant has been. It's a pro-joy podcast. You can tell your friends about it. It's available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube, coming at you every single weekday, free on all platforms. You can make it your first listen to start each and every one of those weekdays and tell your friends to do the same. How about for a second listen, you check out Locked On Sports Today. It is the 22-minute program covering the biggest news across all of the major sports leagues here in North America. Check it out. Tell your friends to check it out. Come back for tomorrow's show. Tomorrow's show is going to be a mailbag episode. If you have a mailbag question, the best way to get your question into the show is to email me, lockedonblazerspod@gmail.com. The email address, one more time, lockedonblazerspod@gmail.com. That will be Thursday's show, Thursday, December 8th, recorded on Wednesday, December 7th. The evening of Wednesday, December 7th will be a mailbag episode. So shoot me a question if you got one to the email address, or follow me on Twitter where I actually have too many questions, so I probably won't tweet about it. Email me. That's where you're going to find me. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.